My boyfriend accidentally threw my mother's ashes and it's ruined everything.
How do you accidentally do that?
My 27 female mother passed away just before Christmas. Oh, it was totally unexpected, and we are all still in a daze, at least I am. My father, even more so. It's like he shut off when he heard the news and hasn't figured out how to power back up again. By the way, this comes from Thrown Away Ashes, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
And I'm Savannah.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. Shortly after the funeral, my boyfriend, 31 male, offered something incredible. My mother was always a huge fan of the arts. And as my boyfriend is a potter, she always has been incredibly intrigued by his work. He even treated her to a studio session once, and she went on about it for weeks. Anyway, his offer was to create an urn for my father. Something really striking and original, and my mom. I thought it was incredible. And when we asked my dad, he just burst into tears and started hugging us. He seemed truly touched. It was an incredibly intense moment for us all. I know that art takes time, but usually my boyfriend is a very quick worker. We didn't get our ashes back until about 6 weeks ago, and my boyfriend asked if he could hold on to them so he could make the urn the proper size and everything. A few weeks went by, and I asked if he had any updates or if I could perhaps see his progress. He got pretty defensive, and I dropped the subject. Sometimes he could be testy about his work, so this wasn't really out of the ordinary, if that makes sense. Over the following few weeks, I drop hints here and there and mention it in passing, but he'd always managed to drop the subject and I got no new info. Finally, a few days ago, I got pretty serious about it since my dad had recently asked and demanded to know at least an estimate of when it would be complete. The look on his face said it all. My heart dropped to my stomach before he even spoke a word. I love my boyfriend, but dang, he's mindless sometimes. He says he misplaced the ashes, but that they had to be somewhere in his studio, so they weren't lost. He was adamant that they were in the studio somewhere, as he's the only one, really, that goes in and out and would remember actually taking them out of the studio. For the past 2 days, we have torn the room apart. We've completely emptied it and put everything back in. We've emptied boxes, storage containers, waste bins, every frickin' thing. It's not in there. The ashes were in a pretty inconspicuous brown box, which I believe would have been easy for him to confuse as something else and either take out of the studio at some point or throw away. He still insists that the ashes aren't lost and that they're somewhere in his studio. It's making my head hurt. Yesterday morning, we had his studio absolutely empty. It's just not there. I don't know what happened to them, and at this point, it doesn't really matter. But I can accept that they're gone, at which point it's time to tell my father. But my boyfriend refuses, insisting that they're not lost, and telling him that they're gone for good would be unnecessarily cruel. I kind of agree, and here we are. If my dad asks again, I don't think I can lie to him. But what if my boyfriend is right? What if I tell him that we lost the only remnants of his wife, only to be wrong? Why should I put him through that if we're not sure? On the other hand, it's already been longer than I implied it would be, so he's got to be growing concerned. Would he hate that I lied to him when he eventually finds out? My head is a mess. Please help me. And there are some relevant comments.
That's just horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I think as much as I don't know what his thought process was. Maybe oh, they're still there, so I'm just gonna not say anything and just be like, oh yeah, I'm still working on it, whatever. I want to know if the actual urn is done.
Yeah. Did you even finish the urn?
Yeah, you didn't even finish the urn. You just misplaced the ashes, and now it's
now we got nothing.
Oh, and now there's no ashes, no urn.
Yeah.
Mom's gone.
Yeah.
For good.
Yeah.
And it's oh no, what do you do? And so I would have said something probably early because she talked about going weeks without.
Yeah.
So this is months now.
It's crazy
not
that he
knowing.
didn't tell her for so long. Dishy22 says, I may be a terrible person. I don't think I'd tell your dad. It's not going to help him. I'd either tell the white lie that she was incorporated into the slip to make the urn, or find some ash elsewhere and put it in a bag and let it be. Again, I may be a terrible person, but sparing a loved one unnecessary pain would be my intention. Gosh, I'm sorry. OP says, okay, I'm gonna sound 12 years old, but I don't know if I can lie to my dad, especially about this. We've always been extremely close and we just don't lie to one another. But I think you're right. This is the best option and it's best for him, I think. Drewable says, to my knowledge, my father and I don't lie to one another. But if he suddenly lost his life partner, I'd tell him that her ashes were in that urn and nothing else. It's not like he'll be looking to use them for anything, but rather wants to know that she's in there. And honestly, as long as he thinks they are, then they are. It's your decision, but this is one lie I think I would tell my father. What if that's not true? What if just because he thinks so, her spirit is not in there? What if I truly lost her? Drewable says, well, you have lost her in the physical sense. She's passed away. You're grieving, and I'm sorry to come off harshly. I just view passing very factually. How she lives on now really all depends on you, your father, and the people who knew her. I chose to remember my grandparents by talking out loud to them sometimes, or taking notes of moments when I feel like I can feel their presence. I choose to believe those things and feel certain ways about them. I choose to carry the people I've lost in my own ways, just as you and your father and whoever else loved her are going to have to. Her ashes were just the last physical representation you had of her. I can imagine it's hard to lose them for you, but really this all depends on how you view passing. Do you believe in souls? Do you think that her soul only exists attached to those ashes? This is all about perspective. Your mother is your mother. Your father's wife is your father's wife. That doesn't change because you can't find her ashes. That stays the same because that's how the two of you individually feel about it. I hope this makes sense. Passing is such a sensitive topic. Either way, she lives on in both of you, and that's more important than the burned up remains being actually in that urn. Debated says, if I'm going to be totally honest, if I was him, I would have gotten some ash from somewhere else and lied to you about your father. I would have taken that secret to the grave. When OP is told it's a little white lie, OP says, I feel like white lies are lies about small or insignificant things that have no real impact. This doesn't feel like one of those things. Deleted says, there is no impact. She's not going to come back to life with the real ashes. He's never going to look at the ashes. How does knowing help? It's just a memorial. But I don't insist on this position. It's very delicate and very personal. And there is an update. Again, yeah, I think I'm on that page. It's like whatever you can bear.
Yeah, whatever feels most comfortable to you. Yeah. And then also thinking about like your dad and how he's going to react and whatnot. Like, you know, it is very sensitive. And it also, you know, who knows how she went and like how that, you know, also transpires and whatnot. So it's like, yeah. So I think it's just really up to what you feel is best.
Yeah.
Honestly, OP.
I took your advice and then ruined everything, girl. I don't know where to begin except that I've destroyed my father and effed up everything. I'm all alone. I waited a few more weeks for her ashes to possibly show up, but they didn't. I finally accepted that my mom was really lost. First, I dumped my boyfriend. Once my head cleared, I realized that I just couldn't get past this. I felt like he'd betrayed me and betrayed her memory. Then I took your other advice and lied to my father. It started out okay. I gave him the urn and he was so overcome with happiness. Honestly, it was the first time he truly smiled since her passing. He announced that his wife was home and set the urn as a centerpiece in his main room. I was overwhelmed, but ultimately knew I'd done the right thing. If you could have seen him, you'd agree. So thank you, Reddit. I take full blame for what happened next. Everything was fine for a while. I could manage telling the story without breaking down and held up the lie as best I could until last night. My father hosted a large family dinner at his home. Both my siblings were there, along with aunts and cousins, about 20 people in total. Before we said grace, my brother stood up. He lifted up this beautifully etched wood place card and explained that he'd had a quote from our mother's favorite book burned or something into the wood. He read it aloud and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I don't want to say the specific quote or book, but it just hit me in all the wrong places. I was okay, held the tears back, and tried to look unfazed. After he finished, he placed it against the urn and hugged my father, who then turned to me and asked if I could tell everyone one more time the story of the urn. I tried so hard, but nothing would come out. I just sat there with my mouth open, tears streaming down my face, and a concrete slab resting in my stomach. I froze. Everyone was staring at me and the lie just wouldn't come out. It's like it was stuck in my throat and I started physically shaking. I just stood up and went to the bathroom. It was apparently quite the scene. My sister came after me and found me sobbing in the bathroom. She sat down with me and started crying too, begging me to talk to her, but I was still frozen. She held my hands and said that we needed to lean on one another in times like this, that we have to be able to be honest about how we're feeling. Everything just broke. I effed up and I told her the truth. As soon as it was out of my mouth, she dropped my hands like hot coals. She looked disgusted with me. She asked what I'd filled the urn with, and I told her ashes from my fireplace. I don't know why I said that. It was like every lie just wouldn't make its way out of my mouth, and I could only say the truth. I hate myself for that. She stood up to leave, and we both realized my father was standing in the doorway. The way he was looking at me. I'm sorry, I can't finish that sentence. I keep trying. I'll never get his face out of my head. By the way, you shouldn't get us out of your head because you can listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. I stood up, but my voice failed me again. He looked down and told me I needed to leave. I tried to hug him, and my sister tore me away and shouted, "Don't you touch him." My father told me again he wanted me out of his house. I could barely walk or think, but somehow made it out of the house. On my way out, my father handed me back the urn. I don't remember what he said. I've called and texted him and my sister both since then, apologizing a million times every way I know how. My father told me I'm as passed away to him as my mother. I ruined absolutely everything and don't know where to go from here. I haven't left my bed all morning and feel like I'm mourning my mother times 100 all over. I don't know why I posted this. I just don't have anyone else to turn to. I hate myself and I know that I deserve this, but it doesn't make it any easier. I failed my mother. I failed my family. I'm so alone. What a devastating end to this story.
I mean, should I crawl up and cry? I kind of want to.
Jeez. Oh,
That was horrible.
that was terrible.
My boyfriend has a work girlfriend, and it nearly ruined our relationship.
Well, maybe he should work on your relationship.
My boyfriend, 24 male, and I, 22 female, have been together for about a year and a half now. We met at work, hit it off great, and are now living together. We work for the same company, but at different locations. We generally have a good relationship. Fights here and there, like all couples, but have been going through a bit of a rough patch lately due to finances from moving in and whatnot. Although my problems lie within his work girlfriend, 21 female. By the way, this comes from Work Mistress or Real. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I am Savannah.
I'm Sophia.
And a fun fact about me is that I'm from Ohio. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Just a fun fact,
Just
in
a
case
fun
you were
fact.
wondering.
In case you wanted to know. And we're here to give good advice goofily, but obviously we don't have all the answers. We would just tell you what we would do in this situation, so tell us what you would do in the comments. My company has several locations, and he is an assistant manager that floats from location to location whenever someone calls in sick. But he is based out of this particular store and works 3 of his 5 days at this store. About a month ago, this girl transferred from a different state into his base store. She works with him on the 3 days that he is at the store, so they see each other often and for long periods of time. Generally, it is usually just the 2 of them and an additional person working. They text each other sometimes, but it has been usually about work-related things. But lately, when I go on his messages, we're pretty chillax about phones with each other. I see them talking about other things like hobbies and things of the like. It doesn't bother me, because I understood that she was new to the state, and from what he told me, she didn't really know anyone besides the coworkers at that store. Until I realized that he downloaded Snapchat and that she was his #1 best friend, and they were on an 8-day snapping streak.
And you know what's wrong with that? The fact that they're using Snapchat.
I still use Snapchat.
Exactly.
I don't find it an issue.
Exactly.
I like it.
Freak.
You don't know what I send. I know it sounds stupid, but I am a huge Snapchatter. I mostly only use Snapchat for social media, and I've been begging him for the longest time to download it, only to have him tell me that it was a waste of time, and then I see that he downloaded it for her. When I confronted him about it, he shrugged it off and said it wasn't that big of a deal. I didn't want to push the issue because we have been going through a tougher time lately, and I didn't want to make it worse than it already has been. I thought that I was being insecure because She is honestly stunning, but maybe it was a bit of jealousy behind it. Today, I saw her name pop up on his phone, and when I opened the message, I saw that he agreed to pick her up from the airport on Sunday. We made plans to go to my family's party on Sunday, which is about an hour and a half away from the airport. He said he was planning to leave my family's early so he could pick her up and they could hang out afterwards. When I asked him about it, he said once again that he didn't think it was that big of a deal because she has no romantic interest in him and that he was being nice by hanging out with her because she's new and that I was overreacting. I am livid.
Just want to point out something.
Yep.
He said she has no romantic interest in him. Not that he does not have any interest in her.
Am I in the wrong here?
Nah, girl.
There's
Nah.
an update.
You're not. A simple, short answer, no.
First off, I want to say thank you to everyone who read and commented on the post. I read all of them, even if I didn't reply. I've been really busy since I posted that, so I didn't have time to update, but some of you guys PM'd me for an update. I sat down with my boyfriend the morning after I posted that, and I asked him about his relationship with his coworker and how I felt like he wasn't being friendly with her, but overly flirtatious, and that it was weird and suspicious, and that I saw his text about him picking her up, and it did not sit well with me at all, especially since he never planned on telling me and that he was going to leave my family's event early. He looked annoyed, but eventually admitted to me that he developed a crush on her.
Wow.
There
Yeah,
we go.
everyone's shocked.
Oh, wow.
No one saw that coming.
Because she was the opposite of me and was fun and easy to talk to, and I wasn't.
Immediate breakup. Immediate breakup.
Also, that she put effort into her appearance and I didn't. I admit that I got really upset after this and refused to talk to him, so I left and went to my best friend's house after that for the night. He didn't even text or call. My best friend and her boyfriend were freaking amazing. They ordered some wings, told me that they never really liked him because he always seemed lukewarm to me, like I was just a friend, and watched some Hulu with me.
Nice.
I remember when I was younger, my mom had gotten out of a really bad relationship and told me to never settle for someone who didn't look at me like I was the stars in the sky. Seeing how awesome and amazing my best friend's boyfriend was to me, even when he could have easily left, and how they were to each other, just made me realize I was better off single than to be with someone who would rather put more effort into a crush than into a 1.5-year live-in relationship. In the morning, I went back and he was sitting on the couch. I asked if he was feeling better. Question marks? And if I still needed more space. I told him that I wanted to break up and that I would be moving out soon. I said that I would pay for my half of next month's rent. He didn't even look phased. He just nodded and got up to leave. I was trying my absolute hardest to be stoic about it, but it kind of failed after I saw how nonchalant he was.
Dang, man.
I don't know if he went to pick her up or not, but I went to my family's event and tried to have a good time, even with all of the questions about where he was. I've been packing and moving back in with my parents during the times I know he's at work. We haven't even talked since, besides to talk about financial stuff and housing situations. I've been fighting the urge to really cuss him out and just to ask why he seems so neutral about this when I've really been a huge wreck, and I've always been a firm believer in living well is the best revenge.
I think it's just like remember that you put effort and like I don't know, you just put effort and intention into this relationship and he didn't, and that is never a bad thing for you, you know? Like it is never a bad thing to want to put effort or intention or just like anything into a relationship. And when someone doesn't reciprocate that, that's on them.
I've been trying to keep busy to keep my mind off of it, but it sucks a lot sometimes, especially at night. Sorry if this dragged on, it just felt good to write it all out. I really wasn't planning on updating at all after that last post, but I had to update. I mentioned in the first post that my ex was a floater for our company. Floaters are very common in our company because we have a lot of stores. It turns out that his work girlfriend became one as well, and while I was working, she came in and filled a shift of one of my coworkers. At first, I was planning on just ignoring her, except for work-related things, because I figured from her reaction of me, I didn't think she recognized me or even knew who I was, and I didn't want a confrontation by asking her. But it got slow and we started talking. We were asking general questions about each other, and I mentioned that I had dated Corey, not his real name, and he had worked at her base store. She looked genuinely shocked. She mentioned to me that she had no idea that he had a girlfriend, but that he only had a roommate that worked for the same company, and whenever he referred to my name, she assumed he was referring to the roommate. I didn't get the feeling at all that she would be lying to me about this, and if she is, she should be acting. I was so pissed off that I ended up just telling her what was going on and why we broke up. I told her about the Snapchat thing, and she apologized because she didn't know he wasn't that into Snapchat.
It's not your fault, girl.
Yeah. She showed me her best friends list, and he wasn't even on her list, but there was that face where you're on someone's best friends list, but they're not on yours next to his name.
Dang.
Also, she said she asked for everyone's Snapchat because she prefers snaps over everything, and if they don't have one, she tells them to download it. She had like a score of 30,000 or something equally as large. I told her about the airport thing and how he handled it, and she apologized and said she wouldn't had asked someone's boyfriend had she known he was dating someone. Get this. The only reason she asked my boyfriend was because the guy that she was talking to was out of town.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Girl was not into him.
Okay.
She used him as an airport ride.
She never mentioned that she was dating anyone to him.
Yeah.
Was because she doesn't like to talk about her love life that much. But she ended just asking one of the other coworkers to pick her up. She also mentioned that the reason she became a floater was because another one of her assistant managers at her base store was getting too flirty with her, and she didn't like it. By the way, maybe we'll flirt with you. And you can listen to full stories just like this. Go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, your favorite podcast app, and search OK Storytime. All right, on to the update. She started going off about how she hated guys like Corey and how he would do that to me. She thought he was just being nice to her since he was one of the first people she met since she moved. I can see how she would mistake his flirting as niceness now that I think about it, since he sucked at flirting. From my impression of her, I could tell how Corey would take her friendliness as flirting. She was really nice and friendly. I didn't hold any resentment towards her before, but I definitely don't now. Oh, and she's a girl's girl. I'm almost moved out, and I feel a lot better about my decision. And with the breakup after meeting his work girlfriend, I still haven't talked to him at all. And that is the end of that story.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's great. I think it's nice that you had that little kind of moment with her, or that conversation with her, just to realize, I don't know, I think it's pretty satisfying to find out that she doesn't like him.
Yeah.
And the girl that he's dropping you for also is above, is too good for him.
Yeah.
Because you're both too good for him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't deserve either of you.